So that's going to be in the works. And then as far as sequence, right now, our contractors are going to work starting on the rod field side, and then they're going to work, I'm sorry, on the Flower Bluff side, and then work their way towards rod field underneath the bridge. And so they're going to go one bent cap at a time. They're doing that work, chipping away at concrete, and then doing the repairs while they're waiting for those jackets to come in, which has about a 2 to 3 week time frame since they ordered them when they started, and they were hired to work with us. So that's going to be a concurrent operation. They're going to get that work ready so that when the jackets come in, they can put those jackets on the columns and then fill it in with grout and then be done sooner than later. And then some more good news is our contractor, Anderson in Columbia, who's managing the subcontractor for us, explained that they're in communication with them to try to get them to work additional hours per day to increase the workday, I think, to 12 hours. So if they can pull that off, that'll be better news for us so that they could be done sooner than later. And with that, I'll let you. Thank you.
The jackets.
Oh, yes. So, these jackets, what they do is they're going to first chip away at the columns that have corrosion on them. Once they chip that concrete away, they're going to tie new steel around the columns because a lot of that steel that is out there is rusted steel. And then what these jackets are, they're just a fiber material that encapsulates the rebar and the chipped concrete. It encapsulates the column, and then from the top, it gets filled with the grout material, and then it acts as the column itself to replace some of the corrosion, and then it gives it the structural integrity needed that was lost because of the issues with the rust and spalling of the concrete. They stay on, and yes, sir. No, I haven't seen the details of them, but I know that they go in there, and that's what they put on there. Yeah, so the 70-day timeline, as Assistant City Manager Young had just mentioned, is that we are looking at counting working days and then not to confuse that with calendar days. So we did a calculation, and so say starting from Monday, we're looking at an early April timeframe. If you counted calendar days, we will be tracking the contractor's work from day one, where they started chipping away at bad concrete, to the end point of what they projected their time frame will be, with the understanding that if there are situations where there was an ability to access the work because of the high tide or there was bad weather. Yesterday, they had bad weather. They weren't able to work, so that yesterday did not count towards a working day. That's how we're going to be tracking their time. That's the goal right now, is that they're going to try to work 12-hour days, is what Anderson and Columbia had let me know. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, yeah, so what we're doing, additional scope, but not to add time to the contract itself, is because we're taking advantage of being inside these closures. And so, as everybody knows, a lot of Yorktown has potholes or edge drop-offs that need to be repaired. So within the road closure, we're going to do road repairs now that we're there and bring that up to par with the pavement needs to get that good. So our contractor has developed scope with our engineer to get that work done. That won't add to the timeline because while they're working underneath the bridge, we can do that prep work. In addition to that, we're going to upgrade the metal beam guard fence that is functionally obsolete, and so we're going to update that so that it's crash worthy because some of that is rusty as well and corroded, so that's going to be upgraded as well. And so after the bridge is open, we're going to have that work completed underneath, but as well you'll have a brand new surface on top with new delineators, markers, signing, so it will appear as a brand new bridge once we're done. Yes, sir.
Do we know how far along TxDOT is in their plans to replace the mud bridge and what cost? Could they simply go in there, tear it out, put it in, or does the engineering and everything else still have to go? Would there be a way to expedite this even quicker if they do have the
Right.
blueprints and they're ready to go and something could be
Right.
done to get this permanently solved?
Yes, sir. So originally, this is part of an advanced funding agreement that was planned for replacement in 2026. And so what we have done since this mud bridge work had began is we were coordinating with TxDOT to try to push up that bid date from 2026 to 2025. So we have had those discussions. We've had meetings with TxDOT, and they have committed to trying to make the 2025 timeframe with the understanding that environmental coordination has to take place for that project development process to begin. In addition to that, utility coordination has to take place. We do have a water line south of the bridge, near the bridge, which could impact our construction for the next bridge. So that coordination needs to take place. But as far as planning is concerned and commitments from TxDOT, they have committed to trying to make the 2025 timeframe. As far as specifically what steps in the process they have begun or not begun, that information we have to get formally from TxDOT in writing. Other than WebEx meetings and commitments from them verbally, that's what we have so far.
And the timeline, do you think you're gonna have this thing up and running and ready by April?
That's our goal, yes. So when we communicated with the subcontractor and we gave them the scope of the columns, we said, give us your best answer and projection of when you'll have this work done. That's where they gave us the 70-day timeframe with the key fact that they are working days. So if they're physically able to do the work under there, they don't have any weather issues.
And is this going to be able to withstand any type of torrential downfall once it's completed?
Yes.
We're going to get into hurricane season not too far after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, so as per our structural engineer, he can speak to the specifics about the dynamics of the structural analysis. But from, my engineering standpoint is that the condition of the bridge before this work is done, and the condition after this work is done will obviously be much better structurally than what we had before we had the sinkhole issue.
And did this spur any other checks on any of our other bridges? Because we thought this thing was fine and then it wasn't.
Correct, it did, and my assistant director of stormwater, Gabriel, Hosa is working to develop that very program. Phase one of that program is to hire a structural engineer that has the ability to take these reports from TxDOT and make decisions on what are priority repairs and what are not priority repairs, because we have, like any other program, a fixed budget to tackling these challenges. And so we'll use this program with a new structural engineer to help us budget the maintenance fixes and then make priorities and then schedule them to get repaired. But that is in the works, yes, sir. So right now, they've been using, they're calling them barges, but they're just big wooden floats is what they're calling them barges. If they have the need for an actual huge physical barge, maybe in the center of the bridge where it's 9 feet deep depth, then you'll see that later when they get to the middle. But right now, they are currently functioning and getting the work done with these wooden barges that they're making right there and then. Yes, sir. You good?
I was gonna ask you, the funding for this,
Mhm.
you guys are saying in budget, nothing's going over, anything like that for this project?
Right, so we're anticipating anywhere from 2.5 to about 3 million from the stormwater budget. And so obviously, that money has to come from somewhere. We'll have to reprioritize based on, existing programs and needs. But that's something that we'll do internally, but it won't affect anything on the immediate. Sir.
All right, again, thank you all for attending today's press conference. And I think that the takeaways for today is the importance of this corridor to not only the general public, but also to the city government. And number two, we are working very diligently to get that bridge and that corridor open back to the commuters. And number three, we will continue our promise to be transparent in ensuring that the users of that bridge has shared information on the timelines to get the bridge back open. We will be again meeting next week on Wednesday at 10 a.m. to have another discussion and update on the mud bridge. And barring any questions, I thank you all for attendance, and this concludes our press briefing. Thank you all.
City manager, it looks like.